Hey everyone, today we are going to be doing a lesson on subtracting rational numbers. This lesson is going to specifically focus on just how to subtract decimals, and then our next lesson will be on how to subtract fractions. So let's get going. You're going to be writing these into your notes, so there will be certain times where you might need to pause the video to write them in your notes because I might be going over this a little bit faster. If I want you to pause the video to write it in your notes, you'll see on the bottom of your screen this pop up, which means I want you to pause the video and write that down in your notes because I'm going to be moving to the next slide if you're not ready. So let's get started. The first thing we need to know is the rules of subtraction again. So we are going to be following the same rules that we did for integers and we're going to follow the same rules for rational numbers. So the rules for subtracting rational numbers is you need to follow the same rules as subtracting integers. We learned two strategies in our previous unit. The first one was adding the opposite, and the next one was keep, change, change. And the keep, change, change is the one that we used mostly, and we'll review that really quick. So the first step for keep, change, change is that keep, and the keep means that we want to keep the first number the same. We're not going to change anything with that first number. That change in the middle means that we are going to be changing our minus sign to a plus sign. And then the second change is change the second number to the opposite. So if it's positive, we're going to change it to a negative. And if it's negative, we're going to change it to a positive. After we do these steps, we then are just going to follow our addition rules that we learned in the previous lesson or in our previous unit. So if you need to right now, please pause the video to write this in your notes. All right, we're going to be moving on to, now we're just going to focus more on how to subtract decimals. Now there's three steps that we're going to use for subtracting decimals, and the three steps to follow when subtracting decimals. The first one is we want to write the problem vertically and make sure that we line up our decimal points when we do set this up vertically. After we set our problem up vertically, we're going to follow our subtraction rules that we just went over on the previous slide. Again, our subtraction rules are keep, change, change, and then we follow addition rules. The third step is to check our answer to make sure we have a decimal point in it and that we have our answer as positive or negative correctly. So please, if you need to, you can pause the video here to write these in your notes. All right, we are going to be going over a few examples. We're going to go over 4 of them. I'm going to be trying something new with these examples where I can write on this page. I'm going to be using a mouse to write, and I'm going to tell you I'm not the best at that. So we will give it our best shot. So the first example we have is 12.8 minus 21.6. So the main thing I need to remember is that I'm following my keep, change, change to start. So I need to, when I'm looking at this problem, I need to keep my first number, 12.8, the same. I'm going to then change my minus to a plus and change my positive 21.6 to a negative 21.6. Now, when I look at my problem, I need to look at which number is bigger since my signs are different, and the bigger number is 21.6. So I'm going to be taking 21.6 and subtracting 12.8 from that, which means I'm going to be kind of doing this problem backwards, and I'm going to be starting from the bottom and subtracting my way up through the top, and I'm still going to be writing my answers down below. So the first thing I need to look at is 6 minus 8. And since I cannot do 6 minus 8 because 8 is bigger than 6, I need to borrow from this 1 right here so I can do that. So I'm going to cross off this 1 and make it a 0. and then my 6 turns into a 16. So now what I'm going to be doing is 16 minus 8, which is going to give me 8. Then I'm going to bring down my decimal points. And now I'm going to be doing 0 minus 2, which I also cannot do. So I need to borrow from my 2 here, which makes it a 1, and makes the 0 a 10. And I'm going to be doing 10 minus 2, which is 8 also. And then 1 minus 1 is 0. Now I need to think about that third step. Do I have a decimal point? Yes, I do. And then I need to make sure if it's positive or negative. So since 21.6 was my bigger number and it was negative, I know that my answer is going to be negative as well because I take the sign from that bigger number. So my answer is 8.8. My next problem is negative 8.4 minus 6.7. Again, I'm going to follow my keep, change. So I'm going to keep my first number, negative 8.4. I'm going to change my minus to a plus. And then my positive 6.7 is going to turn to a negative 6.7. Now what's nice about this problem is that my signs are now the same. I have two negatives, so if my signs are the same, I'm just going to add them and take the common sign at the end. So I'm just going to add them going straight down. So I have 4 plus 7, which gives me 11. So I have my 1 here, and I'm going to carry my 1 over here. Bring down my decimal point, and then I have 1 plus 8 plus 6. So 1 plus 8 equals 9, and then 9 plus 6 gives me 15. So I have 15.1. The third step again, do I have a decimal point? Yes, I do. And then I need to check my sign. My common sign, both of them were negative, so my answer is also going to be negative. So my answer is negative 15.1. The next problem I have is negative 20.5 minus negative 20.5. So again, I need to follow my keep, change rules. So I'm going to keep my first number, negative 20.5, change my minus to a plus, change my negative 20.5 to a positive 20.5. And then I need to think are my signs the same or are they different? And my signs are different. I have a negative and a positive, which means I need to subtract. And then I need to think about which number is bigger. And since these numbers are actually the same, we called that a zero pair because I have two numbers that are the same that are opposites on the number line, which is always a zero pair. So I can just put my answer as 0.0, or I can actually subtract if I want. 5 minus 5 is 0. Bring down my decimal point. 0 minus 0 is 0. 2 minus 2 is 0. So my answer is just 0.0. And it actually shouldn't be a negative right there. My last example I'm going to do is 0.41 minus 0.07. Again, I need to follow my keep, change rules. So I'm going to keep this positive 0.41, change my minus sign to a plus sign, and change my negative 0.07 to a positive 0.07. And now I have the same sign. I have a positive and a positive, so I just need to add them normally. And I'm just going to add them going down. So I have 1 plus 7 which equals 8. Oops. 1 plus 7 equals 8. 4 plus 0 equals 4. Bring down my decimal point, and 0 plus 0 is 0. So my answer to that last problem is 0.48. So now what I would do is I would pause the video here and write down these examples into your notes. If you need to go back at all for me to, or to listen to how I explained how to do it, feel free to do that as well. All right, the next thing we're going to do is kind of go over what your homework is going to look like. So here I have the top of your homework. It's not sliding good. So these are the directions for your homework. We need to record checks, check card payments, ATM transactions, and deposits from the checkbook register below. Include the date, description, and the amount of each entry. So on your assignment, I actually did the majority of this for you, but I still want to go over some of this. So when we are looking at recording checks, that means you're writing checks to people. That means you're taking money from your account and giving it to someone else. Check card payments are the same thing. We are taking money and from our account to pay for someone. ATM transactions means you are taking out money from your account to have the actual physical money. And then the last one is my favorite one, and that is depositing money into your account, which means you're adding money into your account. So anything that I circle in blue is going to be adding. Actually, I think I can. Oops. Okay, I guess we won't do that. So anything that's in blue is going to be adding. And anything that I have in red is going to be subtracting. So the first thing we have is our starting balance. So that's how much money you have in your account when you start. So we are starting with this amount of money in your account. So we start with $527.96. And then the first thing that we do is we write a check to Mrs. Wilson, who is your landlord, which means you're paying for your rent. So if we're paying our rent, we are taking out $225 to pay for your rent for your apartment or your house. After that, we need to make a check card payment. So we're using a credit card to make a payment to Foodland to pay for our groceries. So we are paying $22.52, which means we are subtracting that money from our account. After that, we write a check to the Bank of Illinois for our car payment. So again, we are taking money out of our account to pay for our car, which is $165.23. On June 2nd, we are writing a check to the Interstate Phone Service. So this is your phone bill for $62.77. And then on June 2nd, we are using your ATM card to take out $20. So you have $20 cash, but you're taking that money from your account. So everything I circled in red so far, we are subtracting from our account. And then the last thing is we are making a deposit. So money from your job is going into your account, and we are finally adding money, which is $425 adding into your account. So on the bottom part of this page, there is your actual balance that you're going to be filling out. And it looks like this. So I already wrote the check numbers, credit cards, the dates, the description of what this money is going for. And then I have the transaction amount. And whenever we have a transaction amount, we are going to be subtracting money. And whenever we are have a deposit amount, that is going to be adding money. So if you look, we have a bunch of subtraction ones that we talked about earlier, and then we have one that is adding. So the way that this is going to work is on a separate sheet of paper, you're going to be adding and subtracting money from your account. So the first thing we have is our starting amount. So this is the balance of our bank account. And I'm just going to do the first one for you here. And you start with $527.96. So $527.96. And the first thing that you are doing is we are going to be subtracting $225 from that. So minus $225.00. So I'm going to follow the rules that we were just talking about on the previous page. My signs are the same. And I'm just going to subtract them normally. So 6 minus 0 gives me 6. 9 minus 0 gives me 9. I'm going to bring down my decimal point. 7 minus 5 gives me 2. 2 minus 2 gives me 0. And then 5 minus 2 gives me 3. So after I make this first transaction of paying my rent, my new balance in my account is $302.96. So I'm going to continue following these steps going down. So now after that, I'm going to be subtracting 22.52 from that. And I'll write my new balance here, and I'll keep doing that on this page until I get to the end. And my end balance will then go in this box right here. And that is how much money you have at the end of all of these transactions. On the back of the page, you have 4 questions that go along with this. So it just asks you questions from this page. If you have enough money to buy certain things, what your account balance is on certain days, and then what was the amount of a certain check. So if you have any questions, you can send me a chat on GoGuardian or send me a message on Schoology, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you and have a good day, guys. Bye.